There's another example of corruption. I mean, take Janet Yellen, right? She was, chairman of the Fed, she's now Treasury Secretary. I mean, she got paid $7 million in speaking fees by a bunch of financial institutions. Now, you can't tell me that she really provided $7 million worth of value. All of these banks just viewed it as tribute. We'll give her $200,000 or $300,000 to come give a speech because we know that when the shit hits the fan and we need to be able to make a phone call and get the help that we need to bail us out, that the fact that we've given her this bribe will make sure that she helps us. That's why Bernanke's on the board of Citadel or a consultant to Citadel. I mean, in 2020, in March of 2020, Citadel was bankrupt. I mean, they clearly were. The basis trade had completely blown up, and they called up Bernanke, I'm sure, because he's their advisor, and Bernanke called the guys at the Fed, and they got a swap line. They got kind of an unlimited swap line to ride it out. And so Citadel didn't go bankrupt because they're paying Bernanke as a consultant, and Bernanke used his power in government to get them a swap line. Now, all that is denied, but there's a lot of evidence to suggest that it's true. So that's what we're dealing with here. I mean, it's two sets of rules. There's a set of rules for the insiders, and there's the rules for the rest of us. And we're not playing a fair game. We're playing a very unfair game, which is why, the average working stiff in this country, has to pay 20% on their credit card or something close to that, and yet Wall Street can borrow at the Fed funds rate, which now is 5.25, but used to be 0. I mean, that's just an enormous advantage. I mean, you give me that deal, and I'd become rich. I mean, it'd be simple. Borrow at 0 and buy 10% yielding securities, and then do it again and lever it up. I mean, no mystery. I mean, this is how you've got all these people who've made, private equity people, Wall Street people, financial players who do nothing but shuffle paper, who've managed to create millions and millions and millions of dollars of wealth for themselves, at the expense of the rest of us, right? But I mean, the beautiful thing is Satoshi saw it, solved this problem, and it's going to make all of our lives a lot better. And all we have to do is really sit back and watch it unfold. I mean, to the degree that we want to participate and make it go faster, as Saylor said in his speech at Bitcoin Atlantis, I highly recommend people to listen to that speech. I think it's one of his best ones. It's incumbent, ask not what Bitcoin can do for you, ask what you can do for Bitcoin. It's the job of those of us who understand it to communicate that to everybody who doesn't understand it. For a number of reasons. One, because they save themselves and help them out, but two, because it'll just push this transition along more quickly. And this transition is what will make the world a much better place on the other side. So,
to this point of education, like you said, I mean, you shared a good book about JFK, I don't know, a year ago with me. And I think I messaged you on Twitter. I did it publicly so that way other people could see it too, instead of DMing you. But I wanted it out there publicly just to hey, just continue getting education out there, whether it's trading cards or fun ways to orange pill people and accept truth, like a Trojan horse, like Bitcoin is, whether it's cards or fun things. What do you do to help educate people? Because obviously going to them and saying, hey, let's talk about JFK, or hey, let's talk about the intelligence agencies or the Federal Reserve, like these things are not easy to talk about, but it is the genesis, that's the foundation of understanding a lot of what we're talking about now. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's a big, deep rabbit hole. I mean, probably the thing I do the most of is I give out a lot of copies of Safe's book because I just think it's the best primer to the whole, area. I don't start with the fact the CIA killed Kennedy or the government's completely corrupt, because a lot of people don't want to hear that, and they think I'm on the fringe, and it kind of disqualifies you. I generally just start with something that I know they basically understand, which is to say we've got a real inflation problem. I mean, hard to find anyone who would disagree with you on that, right? Because they know what the cost of living is, they know that food's gone. Now I've got their attention. And then I just kind of talk that through with them and try and explain that, there's a reason for that. And it's not because corporations are greedy. It's because of the way, right, as Warren and Biden would say, it has nothing to do with that. It's because, the money's broken. And furthermore, it's sad, but that's, it's going to get worse.
We're a country that loves Band-Aids on bullet holes, Larry. I mean, it's like, the corporations are greedy. The Cookie Monster doesn't have enough cookies in his bag. It's shrinkflation. It's logistics problems, food and price hike. These are all downstream.
All that, exactly. I just try and walk them through, all of the monetary problems we've got and how clear it is. And then I try to explain to them that, there's a solution. Sometimes they want to go down all those other rabbit holes as well, and I'm happy to do that. But I think that, they don't have to believe that the CIA killed Kennedy to accept Bitcoin. I mean, you can kind of get to Bitcoin. Yeah, you can get to Bitcoin pretty simply. And it's interesting too, because I find the hardest people to orange pill are the people who are really deep in fiat and made all their money in fiat, because it runs against their beliefs. They don't like it. Whereas, just kind of a simple cab driver, blue collar worker, they get it. I mean, they get it really quickly, right? Here's this thing that, the reason prices are going up is because they're printing money. Okay, most people can get that. All right. So imagine if we had a kind of money that the government couldn't print. By definition, the algorithm prevents the government from printing it. And then, okay. And then they usually have some questions about, well, is it real and is it going to work? And how do I, it's complicated. I mean, they're all the issues that we all encounter. And, you get all the various things. Well, I can't touch it. The gold guys say that, or you get there's FUD, right? There are lots of varieties of FUD. But, those of us who have been in Bitcoin for a while, we kind of know the answer to every type of FUD. Okay, it's MySpace versus Facebook. Well, yeah, and maybe it was in the beginning, but this is so far out in front now. There's nobody's ever going to catch up with it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, Facebook's not going to get replaced. Google's not going to get replaced. I mean, it's and the network grows Saylor says every addition to the network strengthens the network, and the network is growing very rapidly. I mean, I was at a meetup the other night. I'm not sure this guy had the right numbers, but if it's true, it's really quite stunning. And he said that there's some site that tracks the number of wallet downloads. I don't know how to get that information, but worldwide wallet downloads is running something like 1 million a day now. So 365. So we're down 300 million wallets are getting downloaded a year. I mean, this is growth. And he said he had the trend curve, and it was a year ago it was less, and 2 years ago it was less, and it's just that just kind of continues to grow every single year, every single day, and so. As we all know, the hash rate grows. We all know the number of coins that aren't moving is 70%, and that's growing. I mean, as long as all of these user metrics are growing, I really don't see, it's, and people say, what's going to crash? I say, why? What am I missing here? I can't see what's the catalyst for the crash. I mean, I can see, though, the government throwing sand in our eyes. I mean, I can see high taxes. You got to report. I mean, there's, the government's pretty good at using FUD, and they will, particularly as it gets to the point where they really realize what a threat it is. They might come out with some very serious FUD. For those of us who've been in it a while and are used to the drawdowns, we're gonna be like, yeah, okay, so what? I ain't selling. Yeah, and it ain't dying. And in fact, gosh, this drawdown is really nice. I'm gonna buy some more sats.
The dollar can lose 99% of its value again from here, and we could be at 100 trillion by the end of the decade. And people are just like, whoa, what are you talking about? And I was like, it's exponential. How does this game play out to you at the end of the day?
If you want the answer to that question right there, and you like that spicy clip, check it out here. Come on, we'll see you in there. But if you want the full interview in its entirety, all the spicy clips put together, and you're not going to want to miss it, believe me, then check that out here. Come on, we'll see you in there. Do it.